Hi, Nayra.
Hello. How are you?
I am great.
Hi.
Great to be back with you today.
Yes.
What is today? Monday, June 28th.
The 28th already.
And I know I warned you at like 6 a.m.
Yes.
We are going on live.
I woke up and I was like, whoa, let's be serious. But thanks for the heads up.
Seriously, wear your hair cute. That is serious.
Well,
yes.
yeah.
That looks good.
Thank you.
So we brainstormed this morning. We're like, what are we going to talk about? And a topic that came up was married people wanting to start businesses.
Yes. And so that came up because so my husband's thinking of starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's a million questions. Where do you start? What do you need to do? So I was just telling him, I'm just going to ask, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you decided it'd be a good idea.
Let's tell YouTube. Yes. Okay. So I think it's really important in Texas to make a distinction between a married person and a single person.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because Texas is a community property state. So that means in Texas, when you are married, you automatically own half of everything your spouse earns in the marriage. Okay. So if your husband is setting up a business now while you're married, you're technically, even if you're not on the LLC paperwork, going to have a 1/2 interest in that business.
Okay.
Let's say he had started that business, I don't know, 15 years ago or whatever, and then he met you and then you got married. The income that came from the business during the marriage would be community property, his income. Okay. But the business itself would be separate property because it was owned prior to the marriage.
Okay.
So a lot of folks, unfortunately, are in marriages they don't want to be in.
More than,
Yeah, not you, but a lot of folks,
yeah.
Right? So those people, not you, but those people really need to think about when they start their business.
Okay.
If you're like, I'm going to get divorced.
Yeah, look, I'm
out of this, whatever. Ladies, we usually know quite a bit ahead of time, right? So if you're in that, I don't think we're going to stay married. So it might be better to work on the business, in a notepad rather than actually establishing the business, right? Because let's say you go ahead and you're not having a good relationship, but you establish the business and it's $1 million business, like off the butt, you invented Facebook or whatever. Well, now your spouse, who you kind of knew you were going to be getting rid of soon anyhow, has $500,000, right? But it was all your idea, your hard work, right? So that's why the title says married people, because married people in Texas have to think like one step further.
So when you say that, is there any way that a married person can start a business and if, like you say, might say like, well, I don't know if we're going to make it. Can they get that spouse to sign something about rejecting or not?
So you can definitely have an agreement amongst the spouse to make something separate property, not community property. And I would highly suggest that that's what you do if you're in that situation, right? You basically, the spouse is going to sign off. There's other ways to handle it too. Like you could do a postnuptial agreement. So like a prenuptial agreement, we've all heard of a prenup, right?
Prenup.
We want prenup. We want prenup. Is that Kanye? My son loves Kanye West. On a side note, I'm about to have my 40th birthday. I'm going to be 40, guys. I know it's hard to believe. And I want to go on a trip. And my son is like obsessed with Kanye. It's his number 7 most listened to artist on Spotify. So I said, we could go to Chicago, but we have to talk like Kanye the whole time.
Oh my God.
So every morning we like, good morning, ooh.
So you guys are practicing.
My son's like, that's not fair. I know all the Kanye lyrics. Oh, it's all right. We'll study. That's good. I'll beat you. Don't worry. Okay. So like Kanye says, we want prenup. We want prenup. So in Texas, you can do a prenup You can also do a PostNup.
Okay.
And in Texas, here's another thing that I just thought of on that topic. Texas is not only a community property state, it is a common law marriage state.
Yes.
There are very few common law marriage states left.
Okay.
So in Texas, you can like move in with someone and create a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that if you're living with someone and you go invent something, they can probably claim half the invention. Yeah. So we do allow cohabitation agreements as well in Texas. Okay. So if you're going to move in with someone, you know, you have the business idea, whatever, you can put that in the cohabitation. This is going to remain separate. We can put it in a PostNup. This is separate. This business is separate. This house is separate, whatever.
Okay.
Right? The business itself, if it's a solo, so like in your husband's case, if it's just your husband's going to be working, he's a solopreneur, then usually there's no need for like a buy-sell agreement. But he could work something into the language that allows his heirs to be bought out by his spouse. And that's something to think about in a blended family. Yeah. In our last video, we talked about we're both in blended families. You know, there's past kids, there's our own kids. In your case, there's what is it? His, mine, and ours. Right? Yeah. And so language like that can be put into the organizing agreement. We can also use a trust. So remember, we talked about because your family is blended.
Yes.
We can have the trust own the business, and then the trustee has to do whatever the trust says. Okay. So one time I was in court. It was not the one time I was in court. I was in court a lot. I used to have to physically go to court all the time. Now, luckily, I just hop onto the machine and court is there. Yeah, it's fantastic. But one time I was physically in the court, and I happened to hear this conversation. Many times I've been physically in court. And, you know, I feel like those are the times I learn the most about, like, what do I need to share with people? Oh, yeah. Okay, so there's this grown man, and he is, like, begging the judge to appoint an administrator for this estate. And I hear from their conversation, you know, I'm back in the pews, right? But I'm obviously listening in. And I hear dad and mom, because community property state, right, had owned a bunch of rental properties. And that was their mailbox money. That was how they retired. And so they had this rental income. They got it every month. They cashed a little check. You know, this is how they're paying for their lives. Well, dad died without a trust, without an estate plan, without a will. And unfortunately, they got the slowest court in Texas. Well, Texas, probably. Definitely in Dallas. Definitely in Dallas. And the gentleman was telling the judge, like, my mom has gone a year without that income. She has no home. She's living with her children at their kindness on their dollar when she owns all these homes. I need you to appoint someone, judge. So if there had been a trust, if dad had and mom had put together a trust, and that business that owned all the apartments or buildings, whatever it was, all the rental properties, if that business was owned by the trust, then the trustee would just step in, and the trust would allow mom's house payment, mom's food, mom's medical care. I mean, mom was like 90, okay? Yeah. Like, this is not the time to be homeless. No. Definitely. You know? And then, like, at the kindness of your children, right. And I mean, I love my kids and stuff, and I hope they love me when they're older, but I'm not trying to, like, live on their dime. You know what I'm saying? No. Especially when they had this whole income, they just couldn't access it. Right. Right. And he did not leave with the resolution he wanted, because once you're under the control of a judge, they're in charge of your life, right? And it's whatever the judge wants to do is the way it is.
At their time.
On their time, on their day, when they feel like it. Yep.
And your lives just, you know, either stopped, or I mean, it doesn't stop.
Now,
but,
I will say most judges are very cognizant of that, and most judges are very
we'll proceed
this
along.
timely.
I mean, because
lives are on hold. I mean, you're literally on hold. Like I said, these people couldn't collect or cash the rent.
Their own.
Which means if you're a tenant, you can live for free for a year because your deceased landlord didn't set up what he needed to set up. So I love trusts as business owners. Okay. I love the business being owned by the trust because the trustee can just step into the shoes.
All right.
And that solves that problem. So
yes.
That's a great thing. It's also a good thing with the married because the trust is typically for both of you anyhow.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. If you are someone who came, so like I came into my relationship with my own trust.
Okay.
That's separate property.
All right.
We can go make a trust together.
Okay.
But if I start a business I'm not married, but if I was married and I started a business during that marriage, even if I put it under the trust that was separate property, it's not separate property. Yeah, it's community property.
You can't
just,
slick.
Yeah, exactly. I try to be slick if I could, but you can't be slick on that one. Right, exactly. So I think when you're married in Texas, the first thing you really need to think about is like, what happens when I die? This is so terrible. That's like actually the first thing I think about always. Like, what will happen if I die? Can I get in this car? What happens if I die?
And it's,
morbid, but it is preventative.
It is the truth.
Yes. So once you establish, okay, what happens if I die? You want to decide, like, do I want an LLC or corp or partnership or whatever, right? You're going to want to decide the legal structure around the business. Okay. In Texas, our Business and Commerce Code does not allow attorney's fees to be assessed against an LLC. So if Nayra, you run a business and you're Nayra DBA, Paperclips R Us, and I sue Paperclips R Us, I'm also suing Nayra because it's a DBA, you're a solo. Under the Business and Commerce Code, when I win, I can have attorney's fees assessed against you. If it's Nayra's Paperclip Corp, I can have attorney's fees assessed against you. But if it's Nayra's Paperclip LLC, I'm out of luck. In my mind, you need not go further, right? Like, to me,
what else?
That's all I need to know. I'm doing LLC, right? I still get the corporate veil, which is this idea like my personal items are separated from the business. So if there's a judgment against the business, it just goes to the business, not me personally. I'm not going to leave my own home or something along those lines. So you still have that. You have pass-through taxation. So an LLC earns the money. It comes through to the owner by way of a K-1.
Okay.
And then the owner puts that on their 1040 and they pay the income tax
on that.
On a corp, the corp gets its own income tax and then its employees pay income tax. And when the corp gives out dividends, which is, your ownership bonus, so to speak, the corp does not get to deduct the dividends and the owners have to pay taxes on the dividends.
Oh.
So they call that double taxation. That's why they call it double taxation.
Oh, okay.
I could definitely see certain types of businesses, even in Texas, even with the rule about attorney's fees, certain type of businesses, maybe you would want to be a corp. I would think like manufacturers, that kind of thing. You would want to really sit down with an attorney and talk about, okay, here's what we're going to be doing. Here's how many employees we're going to have. Because I think about like, if you have like a line and like people could like have their fingers cut off in the assembly line, maybe we want to lean to a corp for like that, just like that extra distance or whatever. But it's really going to depend, and so that's why I think everyone should see an attorney, figure out how that structure is going to look. No matter what, though, if you're married, even if you establish a corp, your wife or your spouse is going to have a community property interest in your ownership of the corp. So if you and I went into a partnership, let's say we decided to set up a partnership together, technically, if you passed away, I'd have to go to your husband and your children and be like, hey, I need to run my business. Right. And then I would have to like work with them. So a way to resolve that in a partnership is a buy-sell agreement, which can also be done in a corp or an LLC. If we decided to do LLC and we each own half or whatever it may be, we do a buy-sell agreement between each other, which gives our heirs the first right of refusal out, basically, just off the top, right? And so that way they know they get their half. That way I know the business is still running.
Okay.
So that's like super important to think about
So
too.
for like say my husband he wants to start like a business and it'll be just for now just him. So you recommend him just do the LLC?
Yes, absolutely. I would say he does an LLC. And the reason for that is because he gets this legal protection of LLC.
Okay.
Right. So taxation wise, it's all going to come on to him. The same way if you're doing a DBA, you're going to be paying the taxes personally, right?
Mm-hmm.
But unlike a DBA with the LLC, you get that level of legal protection.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. A thing you need to be cognizant of, though, is as he becomes successful in the business, let's say it's $1 million business, and then he passes away. It's $500,000 to you, and then $500,000 split between his 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to think about how that's going to look and have that estate planning discussion with him before he even starts the business.
Oh.
Like, is this only going to be half mine, or am I going to take the whole business when we pass away? Those kind of things. Those are hard discussions to have because they're important, right?
Yes.
And we don't want to be the mom of that guy. Like, I felt so bad for that guy having to beg the judge to do this, right?
It's not.
But like his mom, oh my God. I swear, I text her, I'm like, if a judge ever holds my stuff back like this, I'm coming back from the grave. I'm haunting her. I'm going to poltergeist. Like, I would be so lit if I was that little old lady. It would have been me in there with my cane, give me my money. Like, you don't want to be in that side. Right. You don't want to be that little old lady, and you don't want your kids being that poor man. I mean, he's a grown man just trying to help take care of his parents. This is the worst position to put your children in ever. Yes. So my advice to everyone, married or unmarried in Texas, is if you want to start a business, think about what happens to the business when you die. Then
because I feel like people don't really think about that. They're so excited to start a business that they put that, it's not even in the back of their head.
Or often, I have this very good friend who makes these hats, right? He makes these cowboy hats. They're really cool, right? Mm-hmm. And he started as a hobby, and he's making them in his back room. And then someone's like, I'll pay you for that. And now all of a sudden he has a Facebook page. And then he has a website. Mm-hmm. And then he has this, but he's just doing his hobby of making some. That a year and a half later, all of a sudden you have a, $300,000, $400,000 business. Yeah. Someone tries to sue you. Oh crap. I never even thought about that stuff. Happens all the time. Don't stop making the hats, right? Don't stop making the hats. Just call the lawyer while you're doing it. You can build the plane while you fly. Like, we can do that together and make sure we go back and do cover your butt type things if needed. The sooner you think about that, the better. Right. The sooner you start thinking about how am I going to, what kind of formation is this going to be? What kind of taxation issues am I going to deal with? The better off you'll be. And people are like, well, I don't want to deal with that. Here's the thing: if you're running a business, you should be looking to the Fortune 500 as your example, right? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. They know how to run a successful business. Yep. Amazon knows how to write a damn business plan, right? Right. Mm-hmm. Amazon knows their legal structure. Amazon knows their taxation structure. Mm-hmm. So just because you don't want to do it, just because you only have one employee or no employees, it's just you, doesn't mean you get to skip it. I mean, you should be looking for mentors. You should be looking for people who are doing things right already in your industry and replicating. There's nothing wrong with copying that. Copy every Fortune 500 company ever. And make a business plan and make a tax plan and have an attorney to help you, guide you through those things. Yeah. Exactly. Just because you're one person or a small business doesn't mean you shouldn't be running your business properly.
That's true. And then that helps, expand it. And you're,
exactly.
Why would you just want to?
So easy to expand it. Much easier to expand. Absolutely. I totally 100% agree with you on that one. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
So like setting it up, say he doesn't know where to start.
Okay. A lawyer.
Call
Yes.
a lawyer, and then you can guide,
Go through
the
that.
process.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I know. Okay. So no matter whether or not you choose an LLC, a corp, whatever it is, in Texas, the way we register our businesses is through the Secretary of State.
Okay.
Okay. So it's like, oh, I don't know the website off the top of my head. It's like sos.gov or something, Texas. sos.tx.gov, I think. So. Yeah. Whatever, you can Google Texas Secretary of State, right? That is where even I will establish your LLC. I'll use their online registration system. Okay. So no matter what, you're going to have to register your business through the Texas Secretary of State. The Texas Secretary of State then sends your business information to the Texas Comptroller. Okay. So the Secretary of State is going to want to know what your business is called, who is your registered agent. So a registered agent is the person who receives lawsuits on behalf of the company. Every Texas company is required to have one, and it's required to be with the Secretary of State. When I set folks up into an LLC, I usually make myself the registered agent, because that way, if someone served you a lawsuit at my law firm, I can read it, and then I can call you and be like, here's the issue, right? Like, I read it here, I don't charge people unless I receive one. So I'm a registered agent for a ton of people, and I've never gotten money for it. Thank God, right? And hopefully it stays that way too. Yeah, exactly. But you just need someone with a Texas address to be a registered agent. Okay. So that's the information you provide the Secretary of State. Then the Secretary of State sends you this letter, and you have to keep it because it gives you the comptroller number. And you have to go to the comptroller, the Texas State Comptroller, once a year to report on your franchise tax. You're like, oh, tax. Oh my God. Trust me, I hate taxes too. Okay. But the Texas franchise tax is adorable. I calculated it once, and it's like $6 per million earned. Wow. And I'm like, if I'm earning $1 million, I will give the state of Texas a $6 check all day, every day. I'll give them a tip. If I'm making millions in this state, if I make $2 million, y'all can have $12. Okay, I mean, that is like, it's stupid, right? They shouldn't even call it a franchise tax. Because it like makes you, oh no, a tax. So yeah, right. But it's not even like that. It is like, literally, if you make $2 million, you're writing a check for 12 to the comptroller. So the Texas franchise tax is nothing. The comptroller will also does sales tax collection. So if you're in the type of business, I don't know what your husband is thinking about doing, but some businesses, not mine, I'm a services business, so we don't have sales tax. But if you're selling paper clips, like we talked about in our one example, there would be sales tax. The Texas State Comptroller is who collects that sales tax through the business owners. And so sometimes there are comptroller audits. We've had a client get audited by the comptroller on their sales tax, and we actually were able to get them out of any liability. So if you needed someone to help you with an audit, we're your girls, right? Yeah. So you'll see sometimes comptroller audits, and that's why that comptroller sheet of paper is so freaking important. Or else you're never going to be able to log in without that number. You're going to be on the phone for 5 days, whatever. And it's not hard. You just log in once a year and you click a button. Yes or no, I made $1 million or not, right? Very easy. Very easy. Yeah, Texas makes it really easy to get their money. Nice. Yeah, it's smart, right? Yeah. I try to make it easy to get money too. That's a great business tip. The easier it is for you to get money, the more money you will make, or you can make, right? Don't limit yourself. So yes. I feel like those are the fundamentals. Oh, no, got another. So let's say your husband comes up with the name. He decides we're going to do an LLC. We go to the SOS. We register. He has his organizational documents. Now he needs a tax ID. Oh, they call it an EIN, an employer identification number. Okay. I don't know why, because like most people when they start their business don't have employees. So you're like, I'm not an employer. I don't need that. It's an EIN. That's what you need for your business. Okay. So you go to irs.gov and you click on like new EIN or something like that. You answer all the questions and then they give you your tax ID. Print that sheet of paper. put that paper at the back of your organizational documents. So it's always there. Like when I do trusts and I do an EIN, I put it at the back of the trust.
Okay.
That way, anytime you gotta go to the bank or do anything, it's just right there. It's in the packet of information. So that tax ID will be what you use to do the corporate taxes, the LLC's taxes, depending on, whichever, the business's taxes. And then that EIN will issue your K-1 if it's a pass-through. And I mean, that's about it. EINs are super easy to get. IRS.gov. That website is amazing. There's like a plethora of information. And if you're a tax nerd, you could spend days, weeks even. Oh my gosh, they have everything on there. It's everything. They want their money. Yeah, they're earning it with the website. It's a good website. So I'm pretty sure that's everything. Obviously, you need a business plan. I'm not going to get into the details of that. We can do like a whole thing on how to write a business plan if you want.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
To get an idea, because a lot of people want to start a business, but they just don't even know. Like,
I know, and they don't get it too. Like, a business plan is so important because it's basically how you're going to sell your business to a bank to get money. Okay. Mm-hmm. But a lot of folks, like, they just, like, I have this idea, and they just have this great idea, but there's no, like, projections, or here's my client base, or here's this, or here's that. No plan. Exactly. Like, ideas are great, but without a plan, nobody's going to give you money. Yeah. So we'll do a business plan one soon for everyone.
That sounds good. Yeah.
You have any other questions? I think your husband's like ready now.
I think he is. Yeah, he just needs to.
He should be after this.
Yep. He needs to watch
what he wants to do.
What he wants to do.
Watch the video.
Maybe the hardest is going to be the name.
He should be subscriber. Yeah. He needs to be because you're on the videos.
I'm sorry.
Then he can watch you during the day when he misses you.
And learn.
Yeah, there you go.
Two best worlds.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm Lauren.
This is Nayra.
We're with Cadillac Law. We're a North Texas-based law firm. Our website is www.cadillaclaw.net. And don't forget to hit like or subscribe. If you hit the little bell thing when we go live, you'll get the notification. You can hang out with us.
All right.
Okay. Until next time, folks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.